We have the college football playoff quarterfinals on deck. Here's what I like for the games. We've got the first game, which is tonight, Penn State and Boise State. Penn State is an 11-point favorite over Boise State right now. I think that is just not enough points. I think this Penn State team can overwhelm Boise State. I think Maddox Madsen and this Boise State offense is a little bit of a one-trick pony that they have with Ashton Jeanty. I don't trust Maddox Madsen to be able to make some big throws against this Penn State secondary. Penn State has an elite defensive line. That's their strength of their defense. And Boise State is going to be running into a big, just beast of players that they have up front. And I don't think that they can handle it. I think Penn State gets the job done covering -11. Texas versus Arizona State. Kind of a similar game here. Like the game for Arizona State is their run game with Cam Scatterboom, but their defensive line is actually pretty solid. So I think it's a relatively similar game as we'll see from the first one, but I do think that this Texas team can just overwhelm them. This is a roster game for me. I think that Texas just has better players up front and better skill players all around to make this a game where they can kind of stretch the lead a little bit. Now, Texas has had some struggles in the red zone and offensively where you can't really trust them to be able to put up a ton of points. We saw them put up a lot of points against Clemson, but I think that they may have given away like a lot to now Arizona State can say, hey, let's just stack the box, stack the run, and force Quinn Ewers to throw. Because that's all they did against Clemson was just run the ball, and it was extremely efficient, and Quinn Ewers didn't need to throw. And they just beat him on the ground and beat him up front. So if Arizona State can be competitive in the line of scrimmage, particularly on defense, I think they have an opportunity to keep it close. But I do think that the hog mollies up front for the Longhorns are just going to be too much for Arizona State. So give me Texas -12.5 here. All right, we got a rematch of Oregon and Ohio State. I think Oregon, when they played the first time, I think Ohio State was probably, maybe a better team, even though Oregon won. But I think Oregon throughout the season has been getting better, and I'm not sure about Ohio State. Obviously, they just came off a huge win over Tennessee. Just absolutely obliterated them, smoked them. That's the Ohio State team that everyone thought that we were going to get week in and week out as we entered into the season. And that's not what we have gotten. We have gotten a lot of inconsistency. We've seen offensive ineptitude against Michigan. We have seen a lot of close games, particularly against Nebraska. And what have we seen about Oregon? Oregon has been the model of consistency, and they have handled pretty much every game with relative ease throughout the season. And they're coming off of a bye week. So I give the edge to Oregon here. I think they have the players that can match up against Ohio State. I think you can go position group by position group and kind of net out even. But I'm going to go with Oregon here with a little bit of rest. And I do think that they have been getting better as the year goes on. So we'll see if Ohio State can compete and put together a game plan like they did against Tennessee. If they do, it's going to be a really competitive game. But give me Oregon plus the 2.5 here. Lastly, we got Notre Dame and Georgia. I'm really looking forward to this game. I think it does make a pretty big difference with Carson Beck not being in the game. I know everyone is saying, hey, Gunnar Stockton, look what he did when Carson Beck went out against the game in the SEC championship. That's okay. So what? It's like Carson Beck was their number one for a reason. He's the best quarterback on their team. Gunnar Stockton is their second best quarterback on the team. So obviously he's had a few weeks to play with the ones now and get a little more acclimated. But I do think Notre Dame can block Georgia, and I do think that they can get pressure up front on the defensive side. I think it's going to be a very good matchup. Obviously, Vegas thinks it's a 1-point, pretty much pick 'em spread here. And I think a lot of that has to do with the backup quarterback being Gunnar Stockton. What do we know from him? He handed off the ball like 20 times in the SEC championship game versus Texas. Didn't see a lot of throwing. So now his first start is going to be in a college football playoff quarterfinal game. I think it's a lot of pressure on them. I think Notre Dame is maybe being a little bit slept on, honestly. So give me Notre Dame plus 1.5 here. We'll see how this all shakes out. Follow Big Body Ball CFP on all socials.